What is up, everybody? It's the Clout Goblins coming to you live at 7:06 right on time p.m.
That's right.
As y'all know, I'm Flagrant Triggers. Cam for some of us who know me, others is whatever. Big head, Flagrant, that guy with the mop hair. Anything works. But
At least you don't have a receding hairline.
oh, I think I do. I think I just hide it well because I've totally
Okay.
got 5 head.
I mean, I don't have enough hair to hide it, so.
Yeah. No, my hairline's not too bad. I got pretty lucky with the genes. Like my dad is 72 and he's still got a full head of hair.
Nice.
So it's not too bad. Hey, what's going on front porch? Real quick, you'll probably hear it on Crash's end, but him and I are both have thunderstorms right over our houses, so there's a chance one of us may cut out. So
Or both.
yeah, or both. If the stream goes down or one of us just disappears, just
Actually, will the stream even go down? It'll probably just stay live.
I think it will
gone.
stay. I think as long as one of us is here, it'll stay live. I mean, I don't know. I've never. Well, yeah, because remember that one stream that Chrissy did, and
Yeah.
she left, and it just stayed up.
It just stayed up.
Yeah. See, well, I guess it depends on if it keeps our browsers on it or keeps the browser history, because I think that's the big thing. Anyway, co-host Mr. Crash Mondo Jr., how are you doing,
Hello,
sir?
hello. I'm good. I'm just chilling. Oh, got my ice on package in. Did you get yours in?
No, not yet.
Yeah. Okay. Haven't read it yet. Probably tomorrow. I would have read it yesterday, but I was working overtime, making some moolah.
Let me see if I got a tracking update on that. Yeah, I don't think mine's been sent out yet.
I mean, I think they just finished with day one's orders, and I know that's like
yeah
out already, but yeah, you didn't get in on day one.
No, I was a couple days behind. Yeah. Yeah, so I haven't gotten anything yet because I don't think I got mine until day 2 or day 3. But definitely going to keep supporting Eric because yeah, like I said, he's not taking that money and just putting it in his pocket like fucking Bill Gates did with the vaccines. It's fucking scary what that guy's doing. Like there's a video now where he's talking about how over the past like 10 years or so, he's made it he's bragging about making a 20-to-1 return on investment with vaccines. And
he's such a scam artist.
He's a well, dude. I mean, it's not just him. It's all the people in government. Like people think that these. Why do you think people in government are so good at the stock market? I mean, it's pretty damn apparent why. But yeah, so we're gonna be talking about some jab stuff today. There's some news that's come out about the jab that is a little interesting. We'll go over the Devon Archer stuff, which I know Front Porch has covered it a lot, but just we missed it when it came out because Crash had some stuff yesterday or last week, and I was just like, man, we'll take a day off, or I'll take a day off. I got a lot of stuff coming up too, so I've been trying to get ready for that. Anyway, and then there's some more good independent music coming out that I would like to introduce everyone to. And yeah, we'll just kind of kick it from there. See what chat's been up to maybe. But Crash, why don't you tell us about this first story that you wanted to look into?
All right, I'll show the tweet first. I'm still trying to figure out how he gleaned his numbers from the data set. So take this with a grain of salt. Hold on, let me change what I'm sharing. I've got the spreadsheet up. Get the tweet first.
I think. Let's see. Do I have the tweet?
I got it. Here we go.
No.
Now he doesn't specify that it's with that they died because of catching COVID. It's just all cause mortality. So I really don't know what to make of his numbers necessarily. But 1 in every 73 people that have been vaccinated through the period of January of 2021 up through May of 2022 have passed in the UK. I mean, it's a very broad number. There's a lot in there to parse out to decide, okay, how much of that was vaccine injury? How much of that is because, at least in my opinion, I think that this so-called medicine that doesn't prescribe immunity actually wrecks your immune system. Everybody who I have heard, this is anecdotal, of course, what I'm about to say, but everybody that I've heard of or known that has caught it more than once has it. And everybody who
has that wonderful jab that's safe and effective and totally working.
That's always the first question I say I ask when somebody says, like, yeah, I know somebody who's caught it like 3 times, and I'm like, are they you know, and they always say yeah.
Have they checked their progressive box?
Now, I will say that I think it has been concluded that you might have caught it twice if you caught the earliest variant, one of the early 2 variants, and then caught like maybe Omicron or later. They were different enough that some people of natural immunity, it didn't transpire over. But of course, by the time you get to Omicron, it was such a, I mean, I got Omicron. It didn't feel great, but I was over it in like over the weekend. So,
well, the big thing about that too, this is what people don't understand. Like when they take the flu vaccine, for example, the reason it's hardly effective is because the new vaccines are based on the old variants of the flu.
Mhm.
And what that does is it programs your immune system to look for the specific receptors and proteins from the old variant, not the new one that's coming up for the new season. And the same thing happened with the mRNA vaccine. I think the mRNA vaccine is a little bit worse because it didn't teach your immune system about all the components that are involved with the virus itself. It only taught you the sequencing to look for one specific site on the virus instead of all the features of the virus itself, which is what your immune system normally does. Usually it takes a virus or bacteria, destroys it, finds out what different things cause or teaches it what to look for as far as the features. It's like saying with the mRNA stuff, it says, hey, there's a car, we need to get all the cars off the road, instead of your body's normal reaction whenever it encounters something new, saying, oh, hey, there's a red car, it's a Honda 99 Civic with a spoiler and 18-inch rims, that's the one we need to get off the road. And that's why a lot of people, in my opinion, keep getting infected, because these vaccines, all they're doing is teaching people's immune system to look for one specific little portion of what's on the virus instead of the virus as a total.
Well, we've talked about this before with other systems. Like we talked about the hormone stuff, testosterone in men, and like when you start messing with that process, your body starts to adapt. And then when you try to go back to normal, well, your body's already adapted. So now how do you train it to go back? That's essentially what I think is going on here. Like what you said, is that you're training it on one thing when your natural response would be to learn about the 3 dozen proteins that are involved with the virus. And so even if one part of it mutated, you'll still have cross immunity across variants, because you'll have it'll recognize the other parts of the virus.
Yeah, because when the virus mutates, it doesn't change every single thing about it. It only changes one or two things.
It's a single mutation, like, or it's a single part. Like, if anybody remembers in biology, is like it's got a DNA or an RNA sequence, right? Depending on what kind of virus it is. A couple of pieces of it might flip, or one or two little pieces of the code might just change from one what was it, nucleic acid. I guess there's a, I remember it's like the A and the, gosh, I used to remember all of this.
Well,
but
DNA is GAT and
oh yeah, anyway, there's 4 of them.
Anyway, yeah.
And it just switches, some parts of it might switch between from one to another, and that's really it. And so it just creates a different kind of protein at a different part of the virus.
Yeah, it's A, T, C, and G. Thymine, cytosine, adenine, and guanine. That's the 4 DNA bases. And yeah, what it does is instead of keeping the same sequence each time it remakes itself, it changes one little piece in the chain that creates a completely different function or causes it to present in a completely different way. But it's like the closest analogy I can make to it in simple terms, it'd be like you going out and you're pasty ass white. You go out and spend some time in the sun, and now you're tan a little bit. So you're not pasty ass white, you're just kind of eggshell white. But everything else about you, feet, your same hair, same eye color, same ears, nose, everything else is the same. It's just, oh well, now you've got a little bit more melanin. Like there's been one change. It's the reason why it takes hundreds of thousands of years for humans to have mutations caused in their DNA, so that for adaptation to different things. That's why humans still aren't actually haven't evolved to break down grains and fiber stuff like animals have. Let's face it, we're carnivores. We're omnivores to an extent, but the easiest thing for us to eat and get nutrients from is meat.
Yeah, adaptation doesn't necessarily create mutation. Actually, the prevailing evolutionary theory is that you have a mutation that just happens to be a better adaptation to your environment, and so then you dominate the population. That particular gene does. But just because you encounter like lifestyle changes, that doesn't mean in 3 generations like that that generation of humans is just going to suddenly adapt to eating something else entirely. It's like it doesn't work that way. But
yeah. Bread was just like bread and grain products were just, they were one of the first sustenance items because they were long lasting and they were easy to reproduce.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas with hunting and population growth, you were limited on the resources available in your area, and it was much harder to reproduce thousands of animals naturally than it was to just farm some wheat and grain and all that good stuff. So
I do want to bring up this spreadsheet real quick because I do have one interesting note here. It doesn't matter which rows I'm showing this on. Let me see here. Now, because I don't have proportions of how many people are vaccinated versus not in that country, it's hard to draw a comparison between the two. But I will take note that for something that was supposed to prevent death, there's a lot of deaths that are adding up if you add up these numbers of how many people have died that were ever vaccinated and it involved COVID-19.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't like about it. It says involving. It doesn't say from or with, because that, like we were talking earlier before the show, they conflated a lot of those numbers because someone would come into the hospital with COVID and they would die from something else.
Yeah, like injuries from a motorcycle accident.
Yeah, yeah, or it's kind of like the Clinton aide or the Clinton guy who was hung and shot in the back and was shot in the back 2 times and the head once or something like that.
Let me see if it gives a definition of deaths involving COVID-19. It does not, at least I see on this page.
Yeah, that's something there. That's another Weasley way they can both hype up the drama of it as well as spin easier narrative. Well, to piggyback on that, this is something that cannot be disputed because this has been studied and this has come out. Our good friend over in the UK, Dr. John Campbell, recently talked about something, and he has shown that the amount of cardiac damage that people are receiving after being vaccinated is a lot higher than you might think. So, bam. Yeah, he was looking at this study, and just this part alone should make you worried for anyone who has gotten the vaccine, because from this study, it says that our findings confirm the study hypothesis. mRNA 1273 booster vaccination associated elevation of markers of myocardial injury occurred in about 1 out of 35 people. And that is a greater incidence rate than estimated in meta-analysis of hospitalized cases with myocarditis. So basically what this is saying is that people who would go to the hospital with some kind of cardiac issue, that only 0.0035% of those people, it was associated with the booster vaccination. But that's because people were coming in and from the way I'm reading it, this is people who already have a heart condition or people who have had a cardiac event or something like that, and it's saying, well, only 0.0035% of those cases had anything to do with the vaccine. Well, what this doesn't include is everyone who got vaccinated and then were just tested for any kind of myocardial damage or defects, which is what this study did. And to put it in frame a little bit, 800% higher incidence rate of cardiac damage from the booster than what hospital data is giving to the general public from a meta-analysis.
Right. Well, if you remember that, because they've promoted it as so safe, people weren't going in. That's why we've witnessed people keeling over in sports. These young people, their 20s. Because so like they didn't know. There's a lot of people who haven't known to just like go in and get tested. So that's why their analysis is so much better, is because they're just doing a random sampling of the right population and finding out that, what's the actuality. There's a lot of people who may have issues and don't even know for sure. And another thing I want to point out about statistics, because 2.8%. Okay, so you're 97.2% chance to not have this myocarditis issue. But anybody who would question that in terms of risk, let me ask you this: would you ever ride an airplane that had a 2.8% chance of crashing?
Yeah,
exactly. That's the kind of perspective that I think people seem to lack, and that's why, you may know a lot of people who've gotten the jab and they might have had minor symptoms. They might have been knocked out for a day or two, and it's I mean, by comparison, there's a lot of people who have gotten it and they do end up okay, but like 2.8% when you've pushed it out to like 200 million people in this country, aren't we about 2/3 vaccinated?
Yeah, and well, even then, that's only showing the specific marker they were looking for. There could be
right. Yeah, that doesn't include all of the other 14 or 15 possible things.
Yeah, because that doesn't. This is just for myocarditis. It's not pericarditis or any blood clots or anything like that. I mean, for the fucking thing was pulled off. Was it Johnson and Johnson that was pulled off, or was that the one that didn't have a huge prevalence of blood clotting?
No, Johnson and Johnson was the first one pulled off for blood clotting, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't. Was it? I'm pretty sure it was Johnson and Johnson. If it wasn't them, it would have been AstraZeneca, but I thought it was J&J.
I think.
Well, I think we didn't. They didn't even push out AstraZeneca here at first, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think that's what it was because I think they both had issues on the clotting front, and AstraZeneca was found first, and they didn't even roll it out here. And then Johnson and Johnson was pulled out after they discovered that, yeah, people were getting clotting issues at an unacceptable rate.
Yeah, it was not. AstraZeneca was never authorized in the U.S. because of the thrombosis that it was causing. And yeah, this is someone that people should be watching too. This guy is he's pretty on top of all this stuff. So I was gonna watch a little bit of this, let people get it, because he explains it a lot better than,
Yeah, we're not
a couple of guys from a couple of states in the United States that do not have any kind of medical doctorate or degrees.
Well, welcome to today's talk. I'm going to tell you what this is about so you can decide if you want to watch. It's Wednesday, the 26th of July. Now, if
regulate a little bit, he does talk about
give via this paper, then they are at best, in my view, negligent. At worst, I don't even want to think about it. After Moderna booster vaccines in a trial done in Switzerland, with 777 working people followed up with 777 controls, 5.1% of those who had the booster vaccine had increased troponins, indicating cardiomyocyte damage. So 5.1% increased cardiac marker damage, chemicals.
And that is the number one thing that they look for if you're suspected of having a heart attack. They will immediately test your troponin levels in your body, because if you've had a cardiac arrest or some kind of cardiac damage, your troponin levels are going to be elevated. And troponin also comes from cardiac muscle death.
In the blood. 2.8% of the 777, that is 1 in 35, had vaccine-associated myocardial injury. Quite astounding and incredible. That's what this is about. If you want to watch, stick around. I think I can get through it all in about but the main point's in about 10 minutes if you want to stay. Just before we do that, we'll just look at this advert from New Zealand. Now, the advertisers in New Zealand say here, we all need to do our part, so vaccinate, stay up to date.
Yeah, this is where governments co-opted comics and stuff to push her.
And again, doing our part. If it worked, it wouldn't have mattered, right?
Yeah, they wouldn't have had to have anyone spokespersoning the shit.
Right. I mean, plus, like, if it works, then you get it. Then why are you worried about someone who didn't get it? You're protected.
Mm-hmm.
It's like saying that, like.
Well, it's funny because there were a bunch of skits done and memes made about how the vaccinated person would get mad at the unvaccinated person because they might get something the unvaccinated person would get, even though they got vaccinated to not get what the unvaccinated person might get.
That's a tough
like. do you understand? Like, you took something to be safe from something that you're afraid of getting from someone who didn't get the protection from it. Like, what kind of sense does that make?
Yeah, like what you need, anybody who is in that camp, if you happen across this, I doubt that I obviously don't have any fans like that. I don't know. Do you have any haters yet, Cam? I had one random hater that I blocked on Twitter, but
there have been a couple of people that just talk about dumb shit, and then when I'll finally get to like basic points and like they can't answer, so I'm just like, I'm just like, NPC is gonna NPC. If you're not
anyway, for anybody who is waking up and happens across this, and because this is going to be an evergreen video, for God knows how long. You got ripped off. You just got to admit it. It's okay. It happens. I've been ripped off before. I own 2 timeshares.
Oof.
I know. They're paid off at least. So
Well,
about that.
you know who didn't get ripped off? Fucking people like Bill Gates, the big pharma complexes, the government. They didn't get ripped off at all.
No. Or the politicians that the lobbyists paid off.
Mm-hmm. They helped take part in all of the hellscape that was the COVID lockdowns and shutting down of businesses, except for what was it? Essential businesses.
Essential businesses.
Yeah.
Get both quotes in my camera there.
Yeah. And because it was nowhere near the same when a movie production company was set up outside for lunch, but the small business restaurant right next to them couldn't do the same thing. Because we all know,
essential
like,
was just code for connected.
Yeah,
if
pretty
you
much.
knew the right people, you got to stay open.
Well, and it just goes back to raising the question, like, look at the things they shut down. You couldn't do anything publicly. They tried to shut down religion, so you couldn't go to your religious events each week or whenever you attended. You couldn't go to the gym. You couldn't be outside. I mean, for God's sake, in California, that guy was out there paddleboarding by himself in the ocean, and the cops came out there on boats and jet skis to arrest him. Like, what sense does that
literally
make?
outside is the safest place you could have been, even if you were at risk from COVID, right? Because sunlight kills the virus very quickly.
Well, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, sunlight does it." No, sunlight creates vitamin D, which is a huge component in fighting against any virus.
Yeah, so it helps your immune system, and then it's also like, as far as transmission goes, if somebody coughs in your direction, I mean, granted, if they cough like right on you, okay, maybe you'll still catch it. But I believe they did the testing. I remember when the CDC chief, I really don't like him, so I'm not going to give him any credit for it. But Redfield said that, like, when they tested for how UV affected it, it killed it in like 30 seconds, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so being outside, you didn't have to worry about transmission through germs that were on a doorknob.
Right, and you also had infinite like ventilation, so like the air blowing between you and other people was also going to disperse the virus, so you're much less likely to catch.
Let's see.
In
if there's anything else in here.
Myocardial injury after COVID-19 vaccine. This is the Moderna mRNA-1273 booster. Department of Cardiology and Cardiovascular Research Institute of Basel in Switzerland, of course. Now, this is published in the European Journal of Heart Failure. It's an open access journal of the Heart Failure Association of the European Society of Cardiology, so top flight stuff. This paper is accepted. It is peer reviewed. It's not yet published. We've got a preprint, not a preprint, a pre-release copy, because it's not a preprint because it is peer reviewed, and a fully accepted paper in an international peer reviewed reputable journal. It's a prospective active surveillance study. So they went forward, collected the data as they went on, and it's active surveillance. They were actually looking for things. In the past, what we've had is retrospective passive surveillance. So it's been passive in the past. People have only collected data as patients have come forward to complain about it. And it's been retrospective, looking back. This is a much better quality study all round, and has produced really quite.
Yeah, I got to say for that, like, it's much better than people looking back and guessing at what was going on.
Right.
Like, this is the kind of stuff that should have happened before these vaccines were even approved to be for emergency use. Like, because
I mean, but what do you do when they're just gonna break the rules of the controlled study anyway and then lie about it?
Yeah,
I mean, it's any consequences for it.
It's regulatory capture. It's why people at the big pharma industries, their heads used to be in the FDA or vice versa.
Revolving door.
It's just a revolving door. They get jobs at the FDA, and then if they approve certain things, they're promised jobs at these corporations, and then it just goes back and forth and back and forth. You got people switching in and out all the time, and they don't care about effectiveness or the treatment of human beings. They care about the bottom line, and that's
Mhm.
it. They do not give a shit about anything else. If there was a drug that they could put out that would cure a certain disease in all the population, but they couldn't make any money off of it, you'd never see it.
And in fact, they would write the patent and then bury it so that nobody else could release it
And it's either
because it
that
put them out of
or
business.
it's either that or they would never consider it for study, even though it's been, certain drugs that were given out in the billions of doses, which was given a Nobel Peace Prize for its effectiveness. Drugs like that they can't make any money on, like hand over fist, they don't care about. They're not gonna. And what's really shitty about it too is, for people who don't know, the big pharma companies, they don't fucking do any research. They just make the stuff. The the only thing they do is they go to universities where research and study is being done and new drugs are being created or engineered or what have you, X, Y, or Z. But you got to think these universities, it's some doctors and mostly students who work on creating new things. And when something's found out, well, if a student comes along and they make this fabulous drug that can do all kinds of wondrous things, that student can't market it because anything they create while they're in school is the school's property. So then the pharma companies, they might put like 10, 20, maybe $100,000 into a study to see if what's effective or not. And then they'd get that data and they're like, oh yeah, well, we'll make this. And then they'll make billions of dollars off of it.
Yeah, the student won't get jack.
The, the
A
students
lot
don't
of
get anything.
the companies do this to their employees too. Is that they make you sign. I forget what it's not an NDA, but it's essentially anything that's patentable that you create while you're working for them belongs to them. Period. So it's not just those students dealing with universities. People who actually work for those companies. If you're smart, any bright ideas that you get while you're working there, you wait till you're out of your employment there.
Yeah, because he's right. Like probably any of you, if you work for any kind of corporation or company, like even the manufacturing company that I worked at, that was one of the things in the contract for employment. Like anything that you created or developed or engineered or anything like that while you were employed at that company, even if it was outside of the company itself and you introduced it to the company for use, they automatically owned it. It was
don't think about challenging it because they got more expensive lawyers than you can afford.
Yeah. And that's why I don't want my kids to go work for people as a career. I want them to do their own thing.
I gotta tell this one story because it's somewhat relatable. It's not about like patents or anything, but there was one contract job that I was working, and they were essentially kind of screwing me over out of some extra per diem. But it's just like I already had a signed contract. I could have made a stink about it, but because I came out ahead anyway, because even without that, I was still ahead of where I was when I came to work for them. I ended up just signing the new contract, but I was tempted to take them to task on it. But all of the attorneys in that town represent that company doing something.
Yeah.
And I called one, and they said I know this guy over like 3 towns over. He might be able to help you. I don't think he's done any work with them. And but yeah, that's how it is. Like when you work for a big company, they own all the local lawyers too.
Here's another one. After about a year and a half after my surgery, and finally getting to a doctor, and we get an inclination of what actually happened because of the damage caused during the surgery, I called lawyers' offices all over the state, and none of them wanted to take it. Like, well, it's a lot of work, and we've only got like a year, a little bit more than a year to get everything together. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, here's what they did. Here's what happened. Here's proof. Like, what else do you need? Like, if you try to go against a hospital organization that's big in your state, forget it. Forget it. Unless you just have money out of your ass, or it was just like somebody left something inside of you. Like, and that's something too. Like, anyone who's going to have surgery, you need to really look into the details and absolutely get second opinions, because they will not tell you every little thing that could or might happen. They will tell you all the good points, like, hey, we're going to do this, you should be up in a few weeks, and you'll be good to go. They will not tell you, but like with me, that they never told me, oh, yeah, your stomach might be paralyzed for the rest of your life. You might have a lot of digestive issues. Your pancreas is probably going to slowly degrade over time. Blah 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 blah. And then when you realize, holy shit, I got fucked, and you try to do something about it, it's impossible to find help with it.
Mhm.
Like it, and I've been thinking about this too. Because if I'm not mistaken, the law system was supposed to be simple enough and easy enough for anyone to represent himself. The laws were supposed to be understood to a degree to where anyone with a basic education could represent himself and get a fair trial. That's not how it fucking happens at all anymore.
No, not even.
That might have been the way it was like 150 years ago, 200 years ago. Not anymore. Because I mean, just look how much you have to pay for just basic shit, and they have to. That's the only way the judicial system can make any money anymore, for the most part, because they're a government entity, so they're supposed to receive money from the taxpayer. So they're getting tax money from every taxpayer in their district, but it's just not enough. Like, now laws are so convoluted and skewed that unless you have a team of lawyers that you can afford, you're never going to find every loophole. You're never going to stand an actual fair chance unless you can just prove stuff point blank. And even then, you're probably not going to get the outcome you deserve. And the whole retirement system with the judicial stuff is gross too, to where
Mhm.
a lot of states are incentivized to, well, we've talked about this before, like split up families, get the maximum amount of child support they can, because all of that goes into the pockets of the retired judges and stuff. It's fucking gross, which is why I tell people, like, I 100% believe everyone should pursue owning their own business, and getting back to some basic stuff. Stop depending on the government so much and the corporations that they're partnering with, because I mean, look how expensive groceries are now. Like, it's ridiculous. And as far as meat goes, meat has become basically 5 or 6 companies that produce like 90 some percent of all the meat in the grocery
Yeah.
stores.
Tyson, Purdue.
Smithfield.
It's like 4. This is the 4th one. I always forget the 4th one. And it may have changed too, because I mean, in the food industry, I mean, this happens in a lot of industries where the big ones are like constantly buying and selling their subsidiaries,
Mm.
merging and then diverging, and this happens in oil a lot too.
Well,
Oil
it
is a
happens
little bit more diverse than food is, but food's pretty tight. It's like I think 10 companies own everything.
Yeah.
Like everything food wise. I mean, except for like the independent farmers, basically. You can all of every brand that you see in your supermarket is owned by one of the Big 10.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's like that with everything. Like, look at gaming, look at the movie industry, look at it, like, just name it pretty much. Just name an industry. It's at the top, it's only owned by not that many people.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, what's up, Rob?
Listen,
Anyway,
can we find an industry that is truly diverse? Does it exist?
truly diverse? That's not independent?
Like it's actually free market.
No. I mean, I don't think so.
Crypto
The music,
kind of
like,
is, except for that
yeah,
they're technically competing with the government itself. So it's kind of a weird thing. But the crypto, like if you take the government out, crypto's incredibly independent, just overall, just by design. Also, like
the problem is,
yeah.
well,
There's
the
like over
problem is the
13,000
government
different ones.
can get into it. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, the guy who invented Bitcoin, that was a brilliant move.
I'm not. What are you talking about? Because I'm not
No,
sure.
that the I was talking about how like the even if the government regulates Bitcoin, they can't actually control it like they can the banks, right? Like they can, somebody from the DOJ can give an order and your local bank's gonna shut down your account. Bitcoin, they can't do that. Now they find you if they're clever enough because the wallet, it's pseudonymous.
Oh, yeah.
Anonymous. Yeah, but truth is that unless they actually come physically to come find you, if as long as you find somebody who's willing to make a Bitcoin transaction, you can make it. And there's nothing that they can do about it on a technological level.
I mean, it's like it's almost it's more similar to digital cash than what all the banking stuff is, because
Yeah, essentially, yeah, it's
like
like
everything is still
if everybody
tracked.
paid everything in cash, yeah, it'd be this. Cash is really the only way to be truly anonymous.
Cash, or go back to
Or gold and silver.
Trading.
Yeah, or barter. Yeah.
Yeah, barter. Go back to the barter system. I'm interested to see what happens with BRICS.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Saudi Arabia and those places jump on that, like they're going to be the big dogs. Because Jesus Christ, look at the amount of gold that the Saudi Arabians own.
Yeah.
Like they're, what are their big guys called? Well, the princes and all the kings and stuff over there. And
the royal family.
Yeah. they own so much on top of oil, and oil is very fucking important to human survival. I would definitely say oil is a much more needed commodity than gold and silver, because there's only so many things you can do with gold and silver.
Right.
Like technologically, gold, silver, precious metals are a definite must-have. You have to have them in order to produce higher and higher technologies. Oil though, if like Greta Thunberg had her way and nobody could use oil again, we would die, most of us. I would say probably 90% of the population of the
It's the
world would just
most precious
die.
commodity out there because it's energy. Energy is the commodity that you're selling there, and
Well, it's not
oil
just
is
that,
just
but
is in so much abundance.
well, and you got to look at what all oil products are in.
That's
Name
true
a
too, in
product
terms
that
of
doesn't have an
plastic
oil product
rubbers.
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just all the stuff that goes into your car.
Mm. Yeah, you definitely wouldn't have a car anymore, because one, you wouldn't be able to run it.
Right. Even an electric car needs lubricant for all your bearings.
And that's one thing that I was looking at. I saw something on Twitter, and this I don't know if it was Congress or Senate, but he was asking this guy. He was either EPA or something like that, and neither the head of the Department of Energy, head of the FDA, head of the EPA, no one at the top knew how much power it took to run the United States each year. Absolutely no one knew. They didn't know exactly how much output you needed. And that's kind of scary, considering they want everyone on electric cars and they're starting to mandate this stuff in certain places. And they don't understand, like in Texas, and this guy's like, look, it's 110 degrees, there's no wind, and there have been hours long outages every day. Like name any way possible you're going to keep electric cars running when you're dealing with circumstances like that, and where you're going to get that kind of electric load for those vehicles without using oil. And this is shit that people don't think about. And it makes me wonder about Elon too, because surely to God, Elon knows that batteries, that especially the type they're using right now, they're finite. There is not an unlimited supply of that. Not everyone in the world is going to be able to have an electric car. But that kind of lends into the whole WEF one world government thing, where only certain people have access to luxury items, and cars will be one of them. Because you can't have the poorers driving on the road when you want to go somewhere. That's something else that pisses me off too. Like all these global warming and climate alarmists and all this shit. They talk about, oh, your car. Like, one jet ride in any of those assholes' planes creates more carbon than your car will in your lifetime. And it's so dumb. So dumb.
They are so brainwashed. I've seen a couple of videos of some of them being interviewed and about why they do it, and they get like really emotional. And it's like, you're really not in that much danger. You're really not, but they believe it, and that's a scary thing. Like what fear is a strong driver, and it's also a strong pusher for Dunning-Kruger effect.
Well,
it's hard to break people out of brainwashing.
Yeah, especially it's really hard when people's brains just refuse to accept any other truth.
Right. Yeah. They start, like, even if you are able to show them like some facts, some data that, and it maybe even it resonates with them to the point where you can kind of see where they kind of lose their minds, lost in it, right? And then they'll immediately deflect, or they'll move the goalposts on you, or they even get conspiracy theorists on you and say that, oh, that was put up by big oil or something, whether that may or may not be true. You know.
Here's
Did you see that prank that they did on the Just Stop Oil activists at their banquet?
No.
So they infiltrated. This was in the UK. These two YouTubers infiltrated the group, and they pulled a couple pranks. One prank they did was they because they had a mole in the group, they got a whole bunch of people, and when they were gathered, they formed a human ring around them and interlocked arms, so that they couldn't leave and block the roads, and they just stood there like the whole day and kept them from doing their protest and blocking roads. But the better one, they heard about their banquet, just like a party they were having. For whatever reason, this was they rented out some cathedral with these really high ceilings. So they tied these alarms. They're like, I guess they were grape alarms, right, or something like. It makes a really loud. I'd have to play it to describe it, but yeah, they tied these two balloons filled with helium. You know, got into the party, released the balloons, and at the same time it pulls the alarm, and so it's just very loud in this banquet, and nobody can get to it because it's these. When I'm talking high ceilings, I'm not talking like 12 or 16 feet. Not something you can get a ladder for.
Yeah.
In fact, some idiot. There's a clip of them like trying to get a ladder. It's like an extension ladder. You might get 20 feet, but these are like 50-foot ceilings.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're not reaching that.
Yeah, that's when you have to break out the BB guns.
Yeah,
BB guns. Unless you get a crane to go inside.
Yeah, or scissor lift. Scissor lift would do it.
Well,
in fact, you probably have to, because it looked like a historic site, so I don't think that they would let you shoot BB guns at the ceiling.
I don't I don't know if a scissor like that's a hell of a scissor lift to go up 50 feet.
I've seen them.
Okay,
I mean,
I've
it's
never
at the,
seen one that high.
it's about at its limit. Well, maybe that's not a scissor lift. Sorry, I'm thinking of like a JLG, the one that has the big extension arm. The God, what is that thing actually called? The high lift. That for 50 foot, that's what you need, not a scissor lift. You know
Or
what I'm talking
maybe a cherry picker or something. And then how the hell you get that shit in there? Like,
about?
that's a whole nother question.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. Unless the doors just happens to be big as well, and you can fit one of those through there.
Well, talking about like when we were talking about people talking out of their ass and not having good arguments for stuff, and you're talking about how people just lost their shit. It made me think of this,
Okay.
and this was
I see Piers on the little thumbnail there.
yeah.
So Vladimir Putin's probably one of the most hated leaders in the world right now. That's what happens when you invade illegally a sovereign nation and order your army to slaughter innocent people. As well as opposing the West financial and military backing of Ukraine, a substantial movement of digital influencers hold Putin in bizarrely high regard, praising him as a peace-loving leader who stands up for his country. Jackson Hinkle, a conservative commentator on YouTube with 260,000 subscribers, is a prominent voice in this pro-Putin community. He recently tweeted Putin has God on his side in his quest to defeat NATO Satanists. Why is he saying all this? Well, let's ask him. Joining me now is
So listen to how he framed that.
Yeah.
And then, so you would expect someone like Piers or these other high-profile establishment people, they're going to have actual arguments and be able to answer questions with information. And you find out, like, these people are full of shit.
Putin fact, YouTuber Jackson Hinkle, and the Russian-British host of the Trigonometry podcast, Constantine Kissin. Okay, welcome to both of you. Jackson, I don't get it. Vladimir Putin invaded illegally a democratic sovereign country, has wreaked total mayhem. He's killed innocent women, children, he's bombed maternity hospitals. He's been on a barbaric rampage. Why would you choose this moment to revere him?
I would choose this moment because most of what is said about Vladimir Putin in the mainstream press by talking heads like yourself is just factually not true, just like everything that people like you said about COVID. The fact of the matter is this war that everyone talks about that so-called started on February 24, 2022, actually began in 2014 after the U.S. led a violent coup on the Ukrainian government that was democratically elected. When people, specifically ethnic Russians in the Donbass, decided that they didn't want a U.S.-installed puppet government filled with Nazis, they vocalized their opinions. And for that, they were met with violence and aggression by the Ukrainian government, who slaughtered them for 8 years. 15,000 people died in this fighting while Putin tried to achieve peace through the Minsk Accords and the Minsk II Accords, all of which ended up being rejected by the Ukrainian government at the behest of Germany and
because of NATO.
The Ukrainian government continued to push forward despite the fact that Putin wanted peace, and they said that they wanted to join NATO. They said they wanted to have nukes right on Russia's border. And because of that, Putin stepped in and said, hey, look, we're going to stop the bloodshed. We're going to stop the NATO escalation. We're going to stop the risk of potentially this unfolding into a full-fledged nuclear war. And we're going to do what needs to be done. We're going to liberate the ethnic Russians in Ukraine. We're going to denatofy Ukraine, and we're going to denazify
All right,
Ukraine.
I've given you a good chance to answer there. I've got to say, a lot of that I thought was a crock of crap. Let me go to Constantine Kissin. Constantine, I find it...
That was his rebuttal.
Like, seriously, Piers.
Sounds like a crock of crap. Well, why?
Like, which of it is false? Which of it
is
is false, and what proof do you have that it's a false statement? I can tell you that he was spot on. Like, yeah, 2014 with the coup under Obama. Like, people just forget about that. Like, are you serious?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, they all have to toe their lines. It doesn't matter what side you're on. If you get to that point, this is the big problem whenever you're dealing with, even when you're dealing with like video games now. Like, this is what it is. Whenever you decide to get bigger corporations or the government or any kind of public options involved, this is where your shit just falls apart, and you cannot be an actual free thinking person anymore. Like, right now, the big thing going on in the gaming industry is Baldur's Gate 3. It came out and it's getting crazy good reviews because, hey, this company put out a game that was complete on delivery. There's no live service, no updates, no crazy patches they got to put in. Like they had some minor fixes, but nothing compared to like your Modern Warfares, your Warcraft, League of Legends, anything like that. There, and guess how many items are on the transaction store?
How many? I don't know.
None. Zero.
Huh. Okay.
There's no transaction store. This company just said, "Hey, we're gonna make a good game. This is how AAA is supposed to be. So this is what we're going to do," and they did it.
I'm
And-
still a little miffed on Baldur's Gate because of the zoophilia.
I don't. What do you?
You didn't hear about that? The bear?
No.
It's a druid, but there is a scene, and they play this in the trailer. How did you miss this? There's a scene of a
Some
man
druid bear love.
and a druid bear. Yeah, it's like yeah, and there's a whole bunch of memes with Shad and a bear now because of all of that. So it's
So
if you're wondering where that came from, it was because of the discussion they had on FNT about the Baldur's Gate 3 and the zoophilia scandal.
yeah, well, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Wizards of the Coast, because Baldur's Gate is a D&D spin-off, or not a spin-off, but it's based on the D&D world. Like Wizards of the Coast has done some absolutely terrible, horrible cultural shit in the past decade. Like they completely changed a lot of art on cards because it was seen like the literal argument was that so in Magic the Gathering, you've got I think there are 5 elements. There's like earth, fire, water, light, and dark.
Yeah.
And dark represents like death, destruction, decay, stuff like that. Whereas white, it was like the human aspect, the angelic side, the righteous side. And they literally had to change a lot of it or they sent out some apology because they said, well, why does black always represent bad stuff and white's always good stuff? Like, that's racist. Like, they caved into shit like that. And they changed a lot of stuff. I think they removed, if I'm not mistaken, I think they removed like hybrid humanoid races from the new edition.
Yes.
Because
I specifically tweeted about that because I am a half-breed. I mean,
yeah,
human half-breed, but still, like they were basically saying that interracial marriages were bad.
Yeah. Or in that world, they were like half elves and half orcs and stuff like that, and they were like, yeah, that's a ism, and that was it. That was it. It was just, we don't want to be a ism, so we're going to change your stuff because these people who won't buy our games or purchase our stuff or support us in any way are whining about it, so we're okay to lose money. And this is why these companies are just falling apart. Budweiser had to sell 3 or 4, maybe more of their small brewery brands because they're fucked. They just
Did you hear about Disney's put up some stuff for sale?
Really? No,
Yeah.
I didn't hear about that.
I don't know specifically what I think, because I don't know if it's officially like any of these things are like listed yet. I don't know all the inner workings of how that works in the corporate world, but like I heard murmurings of them trying to sell off things like ESPN. Some of that stuff, some of the more like ancillary stuff that's not directly related to Disney.
And you would think that'd be non-questionable. Like, why the fuck are politics or any of this cultural shit in sports? But no, it's on that point. Like when there was a big uproar about JJ Redick.
What about Redick? I haven't heard this.
It was a while back. He called out someone else for.
I haven't heard that name since he cost me $140 on a betting pool of March Madness because he lost to UConn. He missed the last shot. I've never forgiven him.
Uh,
And that was the semifinals. I had such a good bracket that all I needed was for Duke to make it to the final, and I won the whole pool. But because anyway,
let's see. Yeah, here we go. I'm the last time I really, because I don't watch NBA, like I'd rather watch college basketball because I think they work harder for it.
mhm.
And it's, I don't know, to me NBA, like a lot of it seems like they're not even trying to me. I mean, I get it. That's how good they are. Like a lot of them can just take those 50-foot jumpers and
Mhm.
yeah, I got out of it. Oh my God, am I really gonna have to use this? Let's, because I do not want to give TYT any kind of.
Nah, surely you can find something else.
Dude. Okay, hold on. Let me check this one. Yeah, it's a crap one. Yeah, here it is. Let's check this out. Yeah, he absolutely caused an uproar over this.
They kind of complement the eye test. I know you're an eye test guy and you don't like advanced stats, but I might use a few here. I just want to react because I didn't hear this. The idea that his teammates shoot good or bad shots. So Second Spectrum, wonderful company. They installed tracking cameras in every arena 10 years ago. And their technology has evolved. And one thing we've learned from that is we can actually track which players create good shots for their teammates. And Nikola Jokic is top 5 in shot quality created. So if you watch them play, Perk, and I know you do, sometimes you might not stay up late on the Mountain Time Zone, but if you watch them play, when he's deciding whether or not to shoot or score, he's often making a read, because that's what good basketball players do. They make reads. So if he's getting a double, he's going to kick. If he sees the help coming too early, he's going to swing it to the corner. It's a good pass. What's the most efficient corner three in basketball? The corner three. Look, Perk, I want to touch on something that they didn't bring up. This idea that Dirk and Steve Nash were favored to win the MVP because they're white. First of all, you stop short at 1990. That was your cutoff point for players to win MVP not in the top 10 in points per game, which is a stupid stat to judge MVP on. This isn't middle school. 1990, Magic won it. In 89, Magic won it. 87, Magic won it. 87, he was 10th. 89, he was 15th. 90, he was 18th. Okay. We judge MVP year to year. You also said the criteria or the goalposts change year to year for certain players. No, it doesn't. We vote on the MVP. Hold on. We vote on the MVP based on that season. We vote on the MVP based on that season. It is a regular season award. Previous playoff runs have nothing to do with it. It's a regular season award for the most valuable player. Dirk Nowitzki led the league in win shares in both 06 and 07. Led the league in offensive win shares in both 06 and 07. So yeah, he wasn't top 5 or whatever he was, top 10 in scoring his MVP season. The Dallas Mavericks were 67-15. They had the best record in the NBA. In 05, Steve Nash was the driver of the #1 offense in the league, a team that jumped 20 wins and had the best record in the NBA. In 06 to me is one of the weirdest MVP seasons ever. You can make an argument Nash probably shouldn't have won it, but he was still the driver of the #1 offense in the league. The two best teams that year, the Detroit Pistons, 64 wins, the San Antonio Spurs, 63 wins. Guess what? They didn't have a top, their top scorers weren't in the top 20 in the NBA that year. So that was just a strange thing. You could have given it to Kobe. You could have given it to Shaq. You could have given it to Tim Duncan. They gave it to Steve Nash. It's not because he was white.
It was just a strange thing. It was just a strange.
Why did you cut it off at 1990 though? Because that was convenient. That was convenient.
I'm just saying.
That was convenient.
Hold on, time out. It was just a strange thing that it just happened. It was just a strange thing in 2006 when Kobe averaged 31 when he was playing with Kwame Brown and Smush Parker.
And what was the record that year? 42 and 40. They were 42 and 40.
So
let us
was he the most valuable player?
They made the playoffs with that roster. You take Kobe off that team, they probably win 8 games. Okay, so let's make that very, very clear. Now, since you want to talk about when I was saying and preaching about moving the goalposts, the reason I asked that question was for the simple fact that what I'm saying is I don't know the criteria no more. I don't know if it's because it's the #1 seed. I don't know if it's the #6 seed. I don't know how you judging it. Is we judging off of advanced stats or who's the most?
Okay, I can't.
He
I can only
literally
do that
just
so much.
explained, my goodness, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's just stuff like that. It's the same thing with the piercing. It's the same thing with the flaming blue-haired who can't answer the question like why abortion is not killing a human being. Because especially when you're like, that's the thing for me. Like, is it going to grow into a full-fledged human being? Yeah, probably. Well, why are abortions like 90+% done out of convenience? And a lot of that argument is, well, circumstance. Like, if you're going to say that, then Obama should have never been president because he should have never been born because of his circumstances. Like, no one saw the kid who was smoking crack in college with the leader of the what is it, that something underground, where they were doing the domestic bombings at the post. I think it was the post offices, Weather Underground. Yeah. Where he was smoking crack with him. You never would have thought he would have been president at that point in his life or before. But then again, I digress because we've got Hunter Biden doing coke in the White House and them never being able to find out who did it.
It's only the most locked down facility in the entire nation, if not the world. Well, no, that's not actually true. Federal Reserve is more locked down than the White House.
Yeah, which is weird, considering they don't have anything in there. Oh, I know what's in there.
What is in there?
They don't have gold or money. It's probably where they have their pedo parties. That's a very exclusive club to get in.
And their satanic rituals.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that right there just plays into the whole thing about how when you present actual factual to the point data to people that disproves their theory or their thought process or anything like that, they don't care. They do not care. As long as they can. Well, it's like you said.
I mean, this is pride, really. There's a need that, I mean, and we all suffer from this, you know. I mean, to varying degrees. I think the left right now just does it to an extreme, but there's a need to not be wrong because it can be humiliating, especially if you're a public figure. I mean, what they don't realize is that showing humility can actually make you that much more it'll raise you up in the public eye. Like just look at Jordan Peterson.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I think he's
him.
like one of the quintessential examples of just one, maintaining integrity. Two, just I think he's often just shows humility. He doesn't speak on things that he doesn't know.
Yeah. Well,
And he's
him, Brett Weinstein,
Mhm.
his
what they used to
brother.
coin the intellectual dark web, but I'm going to exclude Sam Harris from that because I no longer consider him an intellectual.
Yeah. Did you see his little argument?
No, I'm not watching any
why-
more of his shit. I don't care anymore. 'cause I
Dude,
just can't-
he blamed it on everything but him sticking to the ideological whinings of
Yeah.
the small fraction.
I can't believe that he's still getting any airtime. Like, why are people wasting their time with, like, I don't see I don't see any value in the interviews that he's been giving. So it's just him
No.
doubling down. That's really all it is. Or what he did with that one, was it with Tom Bilyeu? Can't remember which interview it was, where he was saying that, like, if the virus were more deadly and the vaccine were more safe or something like that, then I would have been right, and people would be begging the government to force vaccination. I'm like, no.
If it had killed kids as much as it killed the elderly.
Right. That doesn't make you right.
Yeah, because
it
it's
doesn't
a
make it right. It's still
hypothetical.
wrong what they did.
Well, I mean that, and he's saying that, well, hypothetically, I would have been right. Yes, hypothetically, all of us are correct, but you have to deal with the reality of things.
Yeah, and there's still like there's still. I mean, obviously, I believe in we believe in natural law. We believe in objective natural law, something that exists out of us. Some things are just wrong, and they stay wrong, no matter what the majority thinks. I don't care if 90% of the people would have been in favor of forced vaccination. It still would have been wrong. Just like, I don't care. I don't know how many people in Germany actually were pro-Hitler during the World War II and the lead up to it. They were still wrong.
I think
as
at
long
that
as they
time
knew.
it was mostly like the pro-socialist party, which was the
Yeah.
Nazi party.
Right.
Yeah, like that's why, again, that's why I think my black pill thing is going to happen, because even though we're making these small indentations in certain areas, the establishment is going to recoil, and they're going to fight back, and they're going to try to, if they can't win it through persuasion, they're going to win it through force. And
Yeah.
I think that's what's coming next, because it's the persuasion side is disappearing very quickly, and a lot of it is thanks to the internet. But I mean, look at how they're trying to censor everything. Look at the involvement that every single branch of government had with every single social media company. They're trying to. The only thing is, I think it's going to be extremely hard for them to quell that kind of information here, compared to places like China or North Korea or places like that.
Or just anywhere in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
I mean, those countries seem like free, but it's more of just they're comfortable. They don't know what they're under, because they're able to live comfortably in their lives for the most part.
Yeah, like
At least in
often,
the richer countries.
well, I've often questioned, like, would Japan really be like a great place to go? And honestly,
They have no
in
guns.
some aspects, yeah, exactly. In some aspects, yeah, there's low crime and stuff like that. But in other aspects, heck no, because you can't actually arm yourself there. And if the government literally just does whatever it wants to there, it's somewhat more democratic. But
I mean, the one thing that kind of counters it is just the Japanese culture. So the government doesn't have to do much. Like, they
yeah,
don't have
they
to.
are.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, like, they don't have to force their people,
Mm-hmm.
because I think they're just very submissive to the authorities already anyway.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a plus and a minus. On the plus side is, like, okay, so you're not going to have like civil conflict between the civilians and the government. I mean, that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes that's necessary, but yeah, on the negative side, it's just like when it's necessary, they're not going to step up. Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, like I
How-
said, like you can point out that like China has a low crime rate. Does that mean we should be pro-communism? Not necessarily.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll take.
I mean-
I'd still take freedom over communism.
You really got to think too about just the size that China is and how a lot of the areas are still completely underdeveloped compared to certain
Mhm.
parts of the country. Like, how many people actually, like, how many of the statistics actually come from the entirety of the country? Because I think it's just coming from the bigger city centers they've set up throughout the whole of China.
Well, I
But
mean, they lie on so much as it is. Like, look at their monetary system. They've been
China.
printing money like crazy, but they always make it seem like they're not, and that their yuan is actually strong, and they've done all this development, and they had all these like grand plans that are starting to come out that they, well, I say starting, it's actually been a few years at this point. I mean, have you heard about the ghost cities that they have?
Mm,
I heard rumors. I hadn't confirmed it. I saw a video that claimed that they were starting to destroy those cities. I don't know why.
mm. Yeah, it's weird.
It seems like a lot of work just to. I mean, unless you have plans for that land, I don't know. That was kind of weird. But that showed up
Well,
on my Twitter feed recently.
the one thing I do like about Japan is they have a very good border policy. Like, you are not just going to become a citizen there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is, whew, man.
Well, it's because they're incredibly racist.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. Like, a lot of
Asians
countries
are
outside the
racist against
US,
other Asians. Like it's
yeah, like,
even like, and much less, like even more so towards the non-Asians. I think.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's like that anywhere you go there.
Yeah.
Like, you go to Africa, like actual indigenous African people, they don't like anyone except for other Africans. Like, they think the black Americans here are a fucking joke
Mm-hmm.
compared to the black Africans there. Like, they don't take them seriously at all because of the luxury that we can afford to give everyone or offer everyone here. And because a lot of Africa, it's still very brutal, third world.
Yeah.
Like, no, you don't have plumbing. Most places, a lot of places still don't have electricity. Like, the amount of just small scale war that goes on every single day between the provinces that are there. Like, like, there are African warlords that just go and completely dominate certain areas, and it's not until those peaceful tribes become more ruthless than the warlords tribes that anything has changed. You know what? The one cool thing about like some of the sort of, like, I mean, come on, let's face it, it'd be really relaxing and much less stress if you could just take a dump whenever you needed to. Like, I mean, I don't know, man. Part of me's kind of jealous because we've all been there. We've all had that. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, it's coming, and we're like doing the clinch, and we're just praying that nothing comes out while we're trying to rush to the bathroom. Like, you got to worry about it there. Like, you can just be in the middle of a store and just right in the floor. Well, I guess I could go to California if I really wanted to experience that freedom.
It's true. Yeah, we've got that here now.
Yeah.
Right outside Twitter
Like,
headquarters.
oh my, dude. Oh my God, let's make a sketch about that. Like, set up a travel company where it's like, hey, do you want to do extremely wild and debaucherous things legally? And like, setting up this family trip to go to California where they can just shit all over the sidewalks in front of stores they don't like.
Did you see the? I have to find it. There was a skit that somebody did of somebody trying to buy a house in San Francisco. They had a budget of like $500,000, and the realtor immediately starts showing them tents.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah,
end up
or,
picking a tent that's next to the stormwater runoff area. And
Dude, okay, so people complain about pollution in our area. Like a lot of California, especially in the big cities, they just have huge drainages that lead all the gunk and trash and everything that gets collected during whenever it rains. It just goes into this main channel and just flushes straight out into the fucking ocean. Like there's fucking cars and shit that run out there. Like it's ridiculous. And nah, can't fix that. Like pollution, like I don't think people understand the amount of pollution and landfills that we have too and how big they are.
yeah,
And that 95% of plastic is not even recycled. Like
yeah, it's not
everything
actually
that
cost effective. They were lying the whole time.
yeah, like if anyone lives in areas that have the recycling separated, they just send it all to the same fucking place. That's all it is.
Yeah, like I think the requirement or whatever, and not even sure, but it's really they just have to have a program. This is actually something that often happens in government. I know this from having worked civil service. Oftentimes the requirement to get like approval for something is just that you have to have a program in place.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what's in that program.
You just gotta have something to please the bureaucratic.
Exactly.
The bureaucratic requirements.
Exactly. Like they make just ridiculous. Like here's a good example: the free range chickens.
Mm-hmm.
So to get eggs or chicken meat, that is to get the label on it that they were free range, according to I believe I would assume it's USDA that manages that. It's something like you just have to let them out like 2 hours out of the day. Is that right? If I remember correctly, and I don't know if that's changed.
Let's see.
But like when people see free range, they think, oh, they just allow them to roam like during the whole day, you know? And they have a little coop that they go into. It's like no, they're cooped up like pretty much most of their lives.
So free range, and again, this is from a Factory Farmers Awareness Coalition, so take it with a grain of salt. Free range is considered when chickens and egg-laying hens, they must have continuous access to outdoor space for more than 51% of their lives, but that's not a guarantee they'll actually get it.
It's just access. So there just has to be a door.
Yeah,
that's right. But it doesn't mean that they actually have to be let out.
No. So
yeah, a lot of your USDA organic stuff in the supermarket, that's owned by the big companies as well. Tyson, Purdue, Monsanto.
Yeah, like I'm reading this one thing and it's like you have to have 1 acre per 2,000 egg-laying hens, which calculates to about 20 feet per chicken. Like that is not much at all.
Yeah, and even then, they still like cram them in their. I mean, what are basically just giant sheds.
Damn it, where is it?
I need to get to know the local farmers around here at some point and start.
Yeah, I do too.
From them more than from the supermarket.
God damn it, that's what I forgot to do this last week with Kenzie. We were gonna make butter from heavy cream.
Oh, that would be so fun. Better do that with her next week.
Yeah, it's not hard to do either. You literally just take like anything that's 36 to 40% milk fat, and you just whip it.
Really? That's it?
Well, you need so you take it and you whip it for like 7 to 10 minutes or something like that, and then like whenever it starts to form into butter, you have to take a cheesecloth or something, and then you have to like squeeze the rest of the buttermilk out of it.
Hmm.
So you're making two things at once. You're making actual butter, and you're
Mhm.
making buttermilk. So
Okay.
yeah, I want to try it because everybody I've heard has said that like making your own butter tastes better, and then if you can get actual like if you can just get straight cow's milk
Hmm.
and do it, it's even better. So
Yeah, getting raw milk.
mm,
Another thing that you could try making at some point. I mean, you might have to. I think you have to buy some stuff for this, but your homemade ice cream. I've done
yeah,
that once or twice. I've done it twice. It's so good.
yeah. My grandpa actually used to have an ice cream making thing. And we do it like once every couple of months. Just crush up a bunch of ice, and because all it is what milk, salt, sugar, and ice.
Something like that. Yeah. I don't remember. It's been over a decade since I've done that. The first time I did it, it was actually and I say I did it, but it was just I was hanging out with a family that had the bucket with the thing in the middle.
Yeah, that's what he
Um,
had.
but yeah, the first time our friend had an old one with the hand crank, so we actually had to hand crank it, and so we were actually handing it off to each other as our arms got tired because it actually took a while. But the second time, I was just over at a friend's house and their family had one of those things, but it had a motor on it, so you didn't have to hand crank it and spin it in the ice. So that was
Mm,
nice.
yeah, yeah. His was electric, but yeah, they do have the handmade cranks you can use. And yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
think he found it at a yard sale or something. He's like, "Oh my god, dude, we're making ice cream tonight."
yeah, dude. I miss. Damn. Yeah, there's a couple of different things I want to try and make. Have her help with. Uh Z, it's not. There's plenty of all kinds of Americans that are complaining about something.
Yeah, it's not just them.
Yeah. What you mean them? Who
Who are
is
they?
they?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the rich white liberals definitely fit into that camp
Yeah,
as well. That seems to be all that they're doing. That's like their entire lives is
and
just finding something to protest.
women do. God, dude, I don't know, man. I really do think like people who still value some type of morals and traditions and like the community building, like I think it's just going to get splintered off, and then I think it's going to get decimated.
Oh, yeah, that's
Oh
fair.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, but you take Americans and send them just about anywhere, and they're going to get laughed at. I was just like that was more for how um a lot of there's a lot of confusion about the culture being the same. Like the black culture here compared to the black culture in Africa are completely fucking different. It's nowhere near the same. I mean, for fuck's sake, they're still like the slave trade is going really fucking strong over there right now. There are more slaves in Africa now than there ever were at any point in time in history. It's mostly because of huge population and there's a lot more people that inhabit the earth now, but it's ridiculous. Like we absolutely have luxury here, and most of us don't know what it's like to actually be impoverished.
Like really impoverished.
Yeah. And but it's not going to take I don't think it's going to take a whole lot to bring the house of cards down anymore.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just I don't know, man. I was saying it's like I said, dark times. I think they're coming. Yeah, that or some cataclysmic event. One or the other is going to happen. It's going to be bad. Either way.
All right. If all the Christians disappear, it wasn't aliens. I'm just going to tell you that if that's the cataclysm that happens. All right.
Yeah.
Don't take the mark. If you find yourself still here, don't take the mark, and then we'll join you later. Okay. Just no matter what, how hungry you are, because they're going to be required in order for you to get groceries and food. Just say no, and you'll probably die for it, but it'll be worth it. I promise.
Yeah. See where Whole Foods is scanning your palm now.
Yes. I wanted to punch my screen watching that video.
I mean, it's just another way to track. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Just like central banking digital currencies will be and all that good shit. Should we do the music thing?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. I'm sure everyone on here has heard this, and if not, you are in for a fucking wonderful treat because, damn, this is good shit and good music. But I actually
I'm
just
gonna
found
plug
this.
his Rumble channel. I followed it earlier today.
Yeah,
He just created a
and
Rumble channel.
let's plug his Twitter too.
Okay. Let me find it.
Oh yeah, we should have talked about the frickin' Hawaii fires.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, that's a there's actually a family friend there that barely escaped. I mean, he's good, thankfully. I don't know him personally, but my parents knew him. But yeah, we got word that he escaped out the island. All he had was his backpack.
Damn.
Yeah.
Shit.
There we go. Ain't Got a Dollar is his Twitter. Let me plug that.
Oh, go ahead. It's already queued up here. Sorry, I was looking at.
And then here's his Rumble channel. And he's got a couple other songs actually already that I haven't listened to yet.
Yeah.
I'll go later. And apparently, I think all three of his songs are in the top 10 right now on iTunes. Is it? I believe.
Like this song right here, just to let you guys know the viral effect this guy's having. It had, when I looked at it, it had over 5 million. It was almost at 6 million views, I think, or it was at 4.7, and now it's at 5.1. Like it just keeps going up. Like actually, I think today, before the show started, I said it was at 3.5, didn't I? Yeah.
I don't remember.
That was just a couple of hours ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it was 3.5. Yeah, it wasn't even 4 yet. Like this shit is ridiculous. Like this guy is blowing the fuck up. But anyway, for your listening enjoyment, we've got a new independent artist here. His name is Oliver Anthony, and the song is called "Rich Men," north of Richmond.
If you don't know where Richmond is, it's in Central Virginia.
Yeah, and he's talking about DC guys, the DC politicians.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end. Cause the rich men
I didn't notice his dogs before.
Yeah, I didn't notice them either.
I wish politicians look out for minors, and not just minors on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the whole beast milking welfare. God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, 'cause all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. Lord, it's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just want to have total control. Want to know what you think, want to know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do, 'cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end, 'cause the rich men north of Richmond.
I was trying to save it to my music
I've been
playlist on
selling
YouTube,
my
and I accidentally
soul.
saved our live podcast to my.
Oh yeah.
Because I see it playing on there, and I'm like, oh, but I just
Yeah.
that's not the actual music video. I gotta look it up.
Working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay.
Damn, dude. That's a damn good song.
Yeah.
Damn good song. Yeah, you're right, Z. That is like 100%. That is like.
I see you on Rumble, Z.
Yeah. That is some
Thanks for
deep
commenting
in his
over there.
soul. Deep in his soul shit. And honestly, I don't think it's just his. I think it's everyone's. It's just, what are we doing about it, you know? It ain't a whole hell of a lot. That's for damn sure. But yeah, guys, absolutely go check that guy out. He's got some more songs, and like Crash said, I just saw that one today because Chrissy posted it. And damn, yeah, that was some good shit. Like that's actual country music. That's not this fucking poppy bullshit that's out today. That's because country music used to be about like the struggles and facing the difficulties and being dealt shitty hands and stuff like that. And
yeah,
like,
your girl left you, dog died, and your truck's broke down.
Yeah. And well, I mean, and there were some good ones too, but most country, like especially back in the day, it was about how hard things were. And like starting out, there were some like happy little bullshit songs, but like the actual big country stuff was the guys who were singing about how hard fucking living life was, but then getting to the fulfillment from that hard shit. That is something like, what do you think about the minimum wage thing? Because I mean, it is getting to a point to where you'll never make a living off of
minimum wage cures nothing. The problems with your monetary system. Raising minimum wage actually just exacerbates your inflation problems.
I don't know. I don't know, because I could see how it could if people are being overpaid compared to what the companies are making. But now companies spend so much of their money is spent on dumb shit and paying people who don't deserve it. Like,
But they're not gonna pull away from that just to pay the lower workers more unless the government forces them. But when you do that, you increase demand, which then increases your, without changing the supply of what goods that they actually need. So the natural byproduct is always inflation. That's why raising minimum wage is always a bad idea. You have to. The only way you're ever going to cure that problem is you have to address the monetary system. This is why my hope for the next few years is that at some point there'll start to be jobs that actually pay you in things like Bitcoin.
okay, so well, let me ask you this then. So, if you think, do you think there should be a minimum that someone should make in order to survive?
No, I don't believe in minimum wage. Not because, like, you can define what a living wage is, and you could probably calculate that for any point in time, but it's always changing. One, so you're never going to keep up with it. Two, like I said, if it's a government policy and it's forced, you don't allow the market to adjust to changing market conditions and to adapt. The market,
I could understand
it's like the human body. Like we talk about how interfering with the human functions and how it screws up the system. That's what minimum wage is like taking a COVID jab. That's my analogy. It's just going to make it worse.
I don't think I don't agree, because I don't think minimum wage is meant to help us in any way. I think it's just meant to help the corporations. I think minimum wage is more of a product of fascism than it is socialism. Because
yeah,
minimum
you're
wage
agreeing with me there. That sounds like you're agreeing with me. That was a very
Well, no.
libertarian thing to say.
Well, I mean, like, I don't think the way minimum wage currently is, because the government defines minimum wage as this is the minimum you should make in order to.
Actually, no, they don't even define it that way. No, minimum wage is just
Well, yeah.
the minimum that the government mandates that you have to pay your workers, period. There's no rhyme or reason to it, and it does get tweaked every once in a while, but
I think that's more of a use for the corporations, though. I don't think.
Yeah, if you say that, you're making the case against minimum wage.
Well, I guess I'm talking about more of the minimum wage that is now versus the minimum wage that was actually minimum wage, where if you worked this job these hours and did this work, you would be able to afford your rent, your power, and stuff like that.
So that's a function of the market, and because we have uncontrolled inflation without wages keeping up, because the inflation, what's happening when they print this money is that it's we talk about the Democrats do this all the time and I can't stand it. They talk about the trickle-down economics, government programs, and things like the Federal Reserve. All of that is trickle-down economics, and it doesn't trickle down very much. We get left behind. Inflation eats up the middle class from the bottom up. All the while, the rich are getting richer because a lot of that extra money that they keep printing, the majority of it is just going into things like the stock market. That's why the stock market keeps rising at a particular rate.
I think the stock market should not be there, period.
I actually semi-agree with that.
I think the stock market is the biggest reason that we have the issues we have today with our monetary system, or one of. It's definitely a contributing factor, because once you put a company into the stock market and make it public, well, then you have to make money, and it doesn't matter how you do it. But that's how you get shit like NAFTA and all the corporations sending their production shit over to China, because as long as they're making a profit for their shareholders, they're fine. Their stocks will stay right where they are. Like, I don't believe in that. I don't believe any corporation should be able to sell product here if it's not produced like start to finish here. And I mean, that's almost impossible to find nowadays.
I mean, I would counter that by saying that if we didn't have, I mean, we'd have to eliminate a lot of things, but like if we had a true free market, it wouldn't matter. If we had an actual free market, free and open market with competition.
Well, now that I think about it more, I think places like McDonald's and shit like that, the only reason they have survived is because of minimum wage. because they don't have to pay their employees
So,
so
the
much.
case you're actually making is not about minimum wage. It's about subsidization, food stamps. Walmart is the biggest beneficiary of the welfare program. So that kind of goes hand in hand with minimum wage because they keep it purposefully low, correct? Like it's always lower than. So like the amount. Well, let me put it this way: the way that the amount that Walmart workers make is generally far below like a living wage, right?
Mm.
And that's because Walmart knows that they're all on government subsidies. If you got rid of the subsidies, desperate people would start having like it would affect. Gosh, I get so wobbly when I'm on these rants. But I mean, do you understand where I'm going with this?
Well, I do, but I think you're talking about a separate issue than just the minimum wage. I think you're talking about more of how increasing any kind of living wage would cause a bigger issue with those companies keeping the amount of people they have because it would affect the bottom line more.
Well, what I'm talking
but
about
they're
is
also
that
being bolstered by
if the subsidies cause you to not have an actual free market when it comes to the labor industry. That's what I'm getting at. Labor is not a free market because it's subsidized. So Walmart gets the benefit of like, because the government says you only have to pay what, like $7.50 an hour, which is far below what they need to survive. But the government has a program in place to supplement that. But who actually benefits the most? It's Walmart, because those same people who get those subsidies are shopping at Walmart.
Oh, that's because of the way. It's not just that. It's how these corporations have also made sure to make it impossible for any small business to grow.
Well, that too. Well, yeah, it's the lack of competition that's the problem.
Yeah,
it's the lack of incentive to go elsewhere. Like you get stuck in a place when you're on government subsidy and living on minimum wage. Like if you get a promotion somewhere, you end up losing your subsidy. Like if you make too much, right? So you're incentivized to stay where you are because you can. Usually, it's not a skilled job, right? So it's somewhat easier, and you. And then you get subsidized for the rest. Like if you just remove the incentive to be mobile and better yourself and do work that provides a lot of value and then in the end makes you money, like people are just going to get stuck in those positions because, well, I mean, I say stuck, they get stuck. I mean, I don't blame them for choosing to stay there. The government incentivizes it. They're giving away money, like free money. I'm the quote unquote free money because it's either printed or taxed from somebody else.
It's definitely not just a single section issue either. Like it's multiple things. Like it's like I think places like McDonald's, Burger King, places like that, they wouldn't be anywhere near as big as they are if they didn't have a minimum wage to fall back on to keep their wages low. And even then, they're getting ready to get rid of that. See, I think automation is not going to prove anything other than because look at it long term. Why are they doing automation? Because they're trying to chip more away at their bottom line so they can keep making more, right?
Yeah, automation is, I mean, technically it's just a cost-efficient alternative.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
exactly, because you can get rid of,
like that's all I do is automation. So it's always
you can
about
get rid of X amount of workers for this machine, which
I mean,
adds
you eliminate human error, so that's cost savings, right? So you don't have to, like, let's take a McDonald's for example. You don't have to redo orders, so you don't lose money on inventory because you had to redo orders. You eliminate customer interactions, so you don't have to train them on customer service. You don't have to train a machine on customer service. And then it's just also like labor output in terms of like the cooks, and the sandwich assembly.
But I think
you can just pop that out like you can pop out so many more than a couple humans worth, and the cost of that is just so much less.
Yeah,
Especially if you push
don't-
minimum wage up to like $15 an hour. That's what they proved out in what was it, Seattle? Is it Seattle
But I
that is?
think
Or
I
Portland?
think then though you're just proving that these companies aren't going to survive, because once a company has a fiduciary duty to make more money every year, like automation, bottom line, it's just getting rid of labor and saving $15,000 to $30,000 a year for that one person, or times however many people they can get rid of for that machine. But if it's due to your bottom line being reduced, like they can't keep growing if that's an issue, because eventually you're going to get rid of all the people, and then what are you going to cut? Because you've gotten rid of the human element, you've set, which don't get me wrong, it's a lot of cost savings for these corporations that are cutting these people out, but then they're going to get tied into the engineers who have to come out and fix problems with the machines. Like those aren't going to be cheap.
But one engineer is going to be cheaper than the whole crew.
Yeah,
Think about the size of a crew at a McDonald's. Like that adds up to. I know how much I make, and I can compare it. If I think about a full crew at McDonald's, especially if you're talking about multi shift, if you're open for longer hours, and the machine can last for like you only the one engineer, and especially if it's more of on a contract basis and you're just paying by the hour, as opposed to like paying them like a full-time job. That's massive cost savings.
Well, you probably got like 40. Say your average McDonald's probably got like 30 or 40 employees, which is around. It's probably going to end up being, because none of them are full time except for like your managers. There might be one or two who get close to full time hours, but I don't know. To me, you're looking at probably for a crew of like 35. You might be looking at 700,000, maybe, because most of the people are going to be part time. They're going to be at minimum wage or around that area. They're not going to get that many hours, so most of your members are going to probably make less than 15,000 a year or 20,000. So at a certain point, though, you can't keep cutting away. Like you've already got rid of the manual labor. What else are you going to cut next? Then it's going to go into like quality. Then it's going to go into probably the ingredients. Because I mean, do you really think McDonald's would have still been around if whenever the pink sludge stuff came out? Like if that had blown up in the 90s like it should have, and people realized, holy shit, they're poisoning us, which by the way, they still are.
Yeah, they still are. I mean, I haven't eaten McDonald's since. I know a lot of people have. I mean, obviously a ton of people do. They're still around.
Yeah. Well,
some degree, but I mean, essentially what you're pointing out is like it's the problem that I'm talking about, that it eats away at the middle class. Eventually, when you got rid of the middle class, you start eating the bottom of the upper class.
Yeah.
I mean, this is actually a problem. Like, I'm gonna give credit to Andrew Yang on this one a bit, but he one of his books kind of, I haven't read it, but he talks about it a lot. Kind of the issue that automation brings is that the low skilled workers,
they're not going to be able to find anything else.
Exactly. Like there is a potential pending problem of increasing poverty because of automation. That's just not that you can't necessarily avoid. And I don't think anybody's really come up with a good solution as to like, well, so what do you do with those people?
I mean, to me, given the amount of taxes that we pay, we should, for people who have issues like that, there's no reason we should have homelessness in America, to me, in my opinion. If the government is actually spending money where they should be, instead of allocating money for bullshit and bureaucracy that doesn't actually need it, that is just a literal waste of money. Because let's face it, these government programs, they're mostly wastes of money. And it's not because, oh, you're giving a little bit of money to the certain like X person or X group. It's because of all the people in between. Like there's no reason anyone should be making like Anthony Fauci, he should not be a millionaire off of a government job within a year or two.
It's like
Because
it's 480-ish, give or take, I think, per year.
Something like that. Yeah, but like that amount of money is ridiculous for one person for one job. I mean,
not to mention that's just the government salary. Most of these people, even the non-politician ones, the ones that are just like deep state because of their connections talked about with the FDA and the USDA, and their connections to big pharma, big food. They find other sources of income. Some of it's just insider stock trading.
Fauci and all them, they all have patents on everything that comes out of the NIH.
Yeah.
They have lifetime patents on the royalties from that stuff. They get royalties for a lifetime. They don't have a lifetime patent on it.
Because you can't have a
you can have a very long fucking patent time, sure. But like, I don't know. So is the real issue just greediness, or is it the upper class? Do you think it's more of an upper class issue, as far as like a class warfare? Is it greediness? Is it just government, period?
Yes.
I mean,
above. I think it's the conglomeration of a lot of that. I think it's the human condition. What does the Bible say? The love of money is the roots of all kinds of evil. So greed, yes.
The
lust for power.
So the U.S. government was probably best like for a decade or two after it was first founded, because you had like the rebels, and it wasn't based on your royalty status. But over time, the rich people wanted to make that their thing, and then so you got these rich people with these companies, or the rich people get in there because they can afford whatever. I think a lot of the problem with government is you don't have you don't have enough of the middle class injected into government processes.
Well, that and just so the other part you said, like, is it just government? Yes, because government. What is government? Government is the centralized monopoly for the use of force. They get to make the rules and enforce the rules, enforce you to pay them. That's what taxes are, to do all of that.
Well, I also think that
there's no accountability. That's where the real problem is the lack of accountability. Right now, what we have in terms of accountability is a vote.
Well, there's not accountability now. There used to be. I think it depends on what kind of government you're setting up. Like when the U.S. government was first set up, everyone it was a lot more people paid attention, I think.
Right.
And there was way more
accountability has to come from the people. Yeah.
Yeah, and over time, they figured out if we make things convenient for everyone, it's easier to just get them to do what we want. Which is why I think people should make things harder for themselves. And I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't see it going anywhere positive for sure. I just don't. Especially after...
it'll be a while before it turns around. But I mean, we haven't even really started the downward trend yet. We're still at the precipice of this downhill that's coming, and it's mostly because the entities like the Federal Reserve and our government are. I mean, we may be farther down the hill because they're doing two things. One, they're trying to stave off as best they can. It's why is the Federal Reserve raising interest rates? They're trying to stave off what's coming to some degree. And when they drop interest rates again after things come crashing down, that's exactly what they're doing. They're just trying to kick the can down the road. That's what they've been doing for decades.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing they try to do is hide how bad it really is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that because they own a lot of the media, or they have just enough influence over a lot of the mainstream media, and so they just keep the state of our financial system as much in the dark as they can. Did you hear about? Did we talk about Sam Bankman-Fried last week at all?
No, but you talking about where he got his sweet ass deal?
Yeah, that's right. We didn't do one last week. That's right, because I had a church thing.
Yeah, the church thing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's another. That should be a blinking fucking huge red light for people.
Yes, absolutely. It's a small club, and you're not part of it.
Yeah, and I mean it's not just that. Like, look at this stuff with Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Devon Archer came out, said, "Oh yeah." Like,
Nice
all
segue.
this stuff is being found out. Why are the fucking Republicans just sitting on their ass, not doing a damn thing, thinking about
It's what we've been saying for
making an impeachment inquiry?
like since the beginning of our podcast, right? That just look at the election. This is why I think Trump's going to end up getting winning the primary for the Republicans. I mean, just based on polling, and the Republicans aren't going to try and pull the shenanigans that the Democrats did in the general, or that they did even in their primary to push Bernie out.
Fucking joke.
And then they're also not going to fix their issues in the states where they have majority. And so it's just a moot point. They're still going to do the same thing with the ballot harvesting in all of those states.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but you're not going to be able to convince me that it's going to be an anywhere remotely fair election coming up.
Yeah.
Because they're already cheating. And no, I don't mean they're changing legal processes or anything yet.
Well, they don't have to. They already changed them last election, and they haven't changed them back. And that's been my point. Is like nobody's done anything to reverse.
Well,
anything.
I mean, that's not that big of it. Like, it really depends on if the Republicans are actually going to make a ground game for early voting and ballot harvesting.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think they're realizing, oh shit, yeah, we should have done that. But look at what they're doing to Trump. Trump is, and this is so fucking hypocritical too. The goddamn Democrats whined the whole time about Trump's Ukraine call with Zelensky, asking like, what's going on with the whole Biden situation? Didn't say do this or this. He just said, hey, could you find us some information? That'd be great. And that was it. But then the fucking Democrat, he couldn't do that. Biden was his political opponent at the time. No, he fucking wasn't. He hadn't even declared he was running for presidency. He was sitting there jerking off in the basement with his Alzheimer's, licking peanut butter off of a fucking lollipop while he's smelling some kid's hair. But now Trump and he announced a long time ago, he's running for president again.
Mm-hmm.
He is Biden's chief political opponent by all metrics of any data you look at. But what are they doing? Oh, well, they got to go after him now. Like, it's such a fucking crock of shit. I don't know. I'm with Vivek. It's time for revolution, baby. I think it's been time for a long time.
I'm not totally on board with that, just because I know that you don't have the populace with you. They're still too comfortable.
Well, yeah, I mean, you gotta let the uncomfortable truth of shit really kick him in the balls. But
I mean, I don't think you'll see like a Sri Lanka type situation here until people are starving because of hyperinflation or just lack of stuff in the grocery store, supply chain issues, or just supply production issues even, because that's another side effect of the things that they're doing.
Or shrinkflation, spending the same amount on less. That's where that's what a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah, they don't notice it. Yeah, it's I notice it, and it makes me mad every time.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is like you can't go to, because everybody's doing it. You can't just drop that one brand and find the other brand. They're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Best you can do is just prep the best that you can do. Get to know your neighbors. Get to know at least get to know people local to you. Make some friends. Make it a diverse group of friends, and you know what skills you have, and once you want to build up, find out what skills they have, and don't let people leech off of you, because there will be those kind of people who are just going to try and leech off of you.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm not saying don't have
Oh, yeah.
compassion on people who are poor, but people need to also pull their weight. You trust your gut on whether somebody's just trying to leech off of you, or if someone's just like having a hard time, but is going to pull their weight with their own efforts.
No. I don't know. You don't really find that out until shit does hit the fan.
Yeah.
Because everyone can talk a big game. I mean, I guess you can, like, once you get to know people, you actually see what they're about and what they can do.
Yeah. Get to know your local libertarians. They're all about this. They're all preppers. They're all conspiracy theorists. They all own guns. So
Need to
it's
get
honestly going to be a great place to start. I'm going to say, like, libertarians and a good church. Those are the two places where I recommend finding real life.
You need to get the Mises Caucus here in North Carolina.
No.
Why?
Hmm?
Why would you say no?
I said I know.
Oh,
I know. I can't get no W. Sorry. Yeah,
thought-
no, I'm not.
No. I was like, wait, what?
No. I'm still definitely pro music. I didn't. Yeah. I mean, they're needed. Like, the issue with the Libertarian Party is there's just so much that it feels like that needs to be done, and there's still just not enough people to do it. Like,
Yeah.
the people who actually get involved, it's I would say less than 2% of actual registered libertarians that are carrying the whole weight. Because there are hundreds in this county, and I can get more than a dozen to show up just to drink beer and eat pizza and talk. Like,
Shit, the Republican Party meetings here, there weren't but like 5 or 6 people that would go. It was mostly just old people. It was the old guard. And
well,
half
that
of
makes me
them
feel
used
better.
to
At
be
least I can beat them.
Democrats.
Maybe I can compete with the Republicans here. I've never gone to one of their
Yeah.
meetings to see. I should go check them out and see how active they are here.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably wouldn't take much. I mean, you just check out their if they have a website, it's probably on Facebook, and it's probably crappily ran, and they probably have half-ass turnouts at things. So, because I think that's one thing the Republican Party is really missing is the people who turn out for Trump, they aren't Republicans.
Correct.
Trump is a rhino, but in a good way. Well, to a degree.
Right. To a degree, yeah, because
To a degree.
still, yeah, he has his faults.
Well, I mean, my big thing is just tear it all down. Tear it all down. The only problem is who's gonna fill the vacuum after that, That's yeah. Anyway, we've been going a while.
We have been ranting a lot.
Yeah. Shit. Next week will be Sunday, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Next week will be Sunday. 7:00 ish. For everybody who watched us, thanks for tuning in. We rambled about some things, had a little bit of a slow start, but yeah, we picked it up.
Oh, we got a comment on Rumble there. I just noticed.
Oh yeah.
Kind of a random comment. I don't remember. We didn't talk about Sound of Freedom. I don't know if this is just a spammer. I mean, it's still a good point though.
Oh yeah, wow.
I mean, it's a good movie. You haven't seen Sound of Freedom? Go see it and go recommend it to your friends.
Yeah, it is funny that there are so many people trying to cancel that movie and shit on it. Like, why? It's also Weird though that people needed the movie to really start acting on anything in that. But I think a lot of that's like there's no trust in charity work anymore either.
Yeah.
Most like the big charity organizations are just that. They're organizations. They don't actually do anything like
A
the majority of
nonprofit
that
doesn't mean
money.
that you actually don't make money.
Yeah,
It's
it means
just it's just an IRS classification.
yeah,
It's
that's
all about
exactly
how
what it
you
is.
allocate it. Yeah.
The nonprofit doesn't make money, but the 501c3 does. Or is it the 504c3 that does? Can't remember. Right?
I don't remember. I don't know. I mean, often they just find a way to pay themselves without it being viewed
Yeah.
as like profit.
Yeah, so the 501c3 is the nonprofit organization. The 501c4 runs the nonprofit and promotes it. And that's where all the money actually goes, and they allocate the funds for it. So yeah. If you do donate to a charity, actually look into the charity, because a lot of people have done a lot of work to show that like a majority of the money they get does not go to Goodwill's a great fucking example.
Yes.
Great example. They literally make profit off of people who need shit, because you give your stuff to them for free.
Yep.
And then they'll turn around and sell it for, it might not be much, but look at the amount of like people give, thinking they're doing good things, and they're making millions of dollars off of free donations. Like they don't even have to do the work. They literally just slap a tag on it and flip it, and everybody thinks it's a great deal. And honestly, the people who usually go in, like I see more and more people going into places like that to get name brand stuff that might be used but cheaper and still in good condition.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid. But anyway,
if we ever need a rebrand, here you go, Rantcast.
Yeah, Rantcast. Yeah, we do have some rants once in a while. They're pretty good.
Yeah, I often can't help myself. I just get so mad about the government. Like,
yeah, so like
there's very few, and I work for the government. Yeah, and I actually do hate myself for it. Hopefully, my boss doesn't see that. Gonna call him one day.
We have a question.
Charlie, I like you, boss. If you see this, I think you're great, and I like to see. So don't fire me, please. I still need the paycheck.
Yeah, well, I mean, you work for the government, but it's not like you're the heads of certain organizations that just live to
yeah, I
fuck
mean, like
people
there's
over.
Like I don't actually hate like everybody that works for the government. There's just hundreds of thousands of people that work for the government that are just low level, do it for the paycheck. They're just
It's like they're the guys in the middle, kind of like the middle class.
Exactly.
Do their job and try to do good at it. But then the elites or their bosses don't give a shit about anyone but themselves. Anyway, guys, go check out our socials. I got mine linked below. I've linked Crash. Well, probably need to link more of Crash's, I'm sure.
I mean, just look me up. I'm the only Crash Mondo Jr. out there. Nobody's stealing my name.
It's true. I'm Flagrant Triggers everywhere except for Twitter. It's Flagrant Trigger. We got the hard R there. No RS's. Can't always get what you want, right? But, yeah, we'll be back next week. Sunday, 7 o'clock is the damn, I can't think of the word now. Tentative time.
Oh, yeah.
If anything comes up, we'll let you know and not just skip out like last week. That was on me.
No, that was on me. I'm the one who had the church thing.
Yeah, but I'm the one. I should have put out a tweet or something.
Oh yeah.
Put anything out. But yeah, yeah. Go check out Chrissy tomorrow, 9 o'clock. She's got Simpcast going on, and then yeah.
Is she doing it live from Anime Matsuri or something? Do you know?
I don't know. I do not know.
Or is she just doing it from the hotel, like she sometimes does when she travels? So I know she's out there right now. She had a couple shows, and she's been cosplaying at the convention.
Where the hell is the shit? God, I hate trying to look at my list and find shit because then I can never find it. Let's see. Yeah, tomorrow we'll be live from Anime Matsuri.
Nice.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, looks like the one she did earlier today was live from there too. So. All right, guys. Take it easy. Check out Christy tomorrow. It should be fun stuff, and we'll catch you later.
All right, go touch grass, people.
Yes, for the love of God, go touch grass, and everybody have a good rest of your weekend, and have a good week next week.